This is the Khoodeelaar television channel broadcasting under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo manifesto editions on the internet, accompanied by the other babies, Baby Angel's Koji and her family from 1978 up to today, the Monday, the 30th of September 2024. The news features the main news, so called, that features on the front pages of the tabloids today, that is coming up Tuesday, the 1st of October 2024, is of course about the BBC apologizing to one of the complainants, the participants in the Strictly Come Dancing program. But there are controversial kind of contradictions in those which I shall be going into to the extent that I'm able to with the access that I have of the limited information at this stage. The other one is, of course, the absolutely corrupt cushioning by the Guardian, the lying Guardian, cushioning the parasite Keir Starmer, because the main news in which they perpetrate the cushioning of Keir Starmer is about Simon Case, the so-called cabinet secretary who has announced on Monday that Simon Case, was going to step down by the end of this year, that is 2024. In their lying cover up for Keir Starmer, the lying Guardian say that Starmer has been frustrated by the various leaks, etc., taking place from Downing Street, about Downing Street. But that's a lie. It's a treble lie, because the main actual Fleet Street organ, although it's not a print organ anymore, but the Fleet Street organ, the independent.co.uk, which mainly publishes online, broke the story or published the story that Simon Case was actually ousted by Starmer. So the announcement that Simon Case made on Monday is not true. Well, the contents of the announcement are only half true, half accurate. The real reason is not as the Guardian corruptly calls it. The real reason is that Starmer has in effect, sacked Simon Case, the cabinet secretary. And the Independence version, the interpretation is that Simon Case was the subject of various cabinet ministers and Starmer fronted MPs demanding that Starmer got rid of Simon Case. And the reason was that they accused him, that is Simon Case, of being the source, the main kind of origin of the various leaks about Sue Gray, about her getting the more money than Starmer, and also about other things that she has been accused of doing. So this is so far the Guardian's lies that we have covered, but we shall actually continue later in due course. The newspapers on Tuesday are not, the main newspaper, that is the main collection of Police Street, is not following any particular pattern in terms of the focus. So, for example, the news about Starma taking the money from Wahid Ali, the corrupter, and the news about Al Fayed, news about other corrupt goings on in the establishment, they're not in a systematic way being followed up by any of the non tabloid papers. The I mentioned the Cambridge University Press's title, Constitutional Administrative Law. I'm talking based on the third edition, published in dated 2022. In there is a kind of, as I have said before, there is no real kind of serious, rigorous research in any of the papers, any of the academic publications, any of the judicial decisions. For example, the biggest contextual constitutional issue should have been Sajid's stupid job is taking away the British by birth citizenship from Shamima Begum, born in London. But there is no mention of that. So far, I have read, it's about 1,000 pages, but I have not found anything about the Home Secretary, Home Office, or the Nationality or the Immigration Act. I'll check again before the other editions and kind of compensate if there is any error or oversight on my part. But regardless of whether I find anything or not, the fact that Shamima Begum has been robbed of her British by birth citizenship and also has been persistently prevented from having a say through the judiciary, through the Supreme Court, etc., is continuing the racism and the criminality of the empire that so outraged Eric Blair, that is George Orwell, who then decided to leave the subcontinent and return to England. As recounted in the book called One Fine Day that I've been studying in the last few weeks. Because the outrage that George Orwell felt was not just an outrage about the treatment of the people in the subcontinent by the English ones, but also of the treatment of the people in Africa by the same English colonialists. And the whole list of items that are recounted in there that I can identify. When I was very young, I saw the last kind of white-skinned British Army soldiers going through our village. So I don't know how old I was, but I did see them. And they were not mixed. That is to say, the uniformed military soldiers were all white-skinned. They didn't have any local Asian people among them at all, not the ones that I witnessed. I didn't go out of my way to witness them. I just saw them as per the ordinary daily kind of experience. What these people were doing, I still don't know. But obviously, they were returning from I suppose, the newly created kind of borders between the newly created two states of India and Pakistan. So I witnessed those things, I'm sure, at the beginning. Well, at the end of the decade, 1940s. Going back to the Guardian's role in covering up Keir Starmer's corruption and his lying in relation to sacking the cabinet secretary Simon Case. The dispute between Sugre and Boris Johnson, which was part of the reason why Sugre was seen as a kind of interesting possible head of his administration, bureaucracy, was quite significant because Sugre, as now revealed, was a politically motivated individual, although she had spent a long time as a quote civil servant. She was a civil servant that was very much proactively involved in the various internal intrigues, etc., which she must have shared with Keir Starmer directly or indirectly, which must have resulted in the decision, the impulsion by Starmer to recruit her as the chief of his staff, which is what she has been holding the position as. Now, what happens after the ouster of Simon Case? Will Sugre stay? Because according to the forces that are represented in the Daily Mail, etc., Sugre is the problem. It wasn't Simon Case, but Sugre was the problem, according to the Daily Mail's commentary. Will she stay, or will she be the next one to go? Because not because Starmer wants her to go, but because Starmer will have no option but to get rid of her, because otherwise he himself will be untenable. His stay as prime minister would become untenable because of the pressure. And then, of course, there is absolutely nothing in the papers about Rosie Duffield. Rosie Duffield, the Canterbury MP, who has resigned, the Labour Party whip, on Sunday and has condemned Keir Starmer as being shameless, greedy, corrupt. Well, she hasn't used the word corrupt in her letter as published in the Sunday Times, where I have read it. But she has meant, obviously, everything about corruption in Starmer's behavior.